Top of the morning, everyone. We are live here in Spanish Trace. If you remember from our broadcast and earlier this week, we promised you a 30-minute Facebook Live interview with Sheriff Richard Roundtree. And we are here. I'm going to flip this around and see him. Say hello to everyone.
Well, hello, everyone. Top of the morning to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. This is your first Facebook Live.
Yeah,
this is something new that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's something that we're trying to do to get our message out and unfiltered. Because a lot of times when people see the news, it's stripped of questions about certain events that go on. But we want to give the public an opportunity from different media outlets to say, you know, what is the pulse of our community? What are the questions that people are asking that you can't answer in a 90-second news bite or whatever? So we want to give 30 minutes to ask any questions that the public may have, some concerns that may come up. Again, something that you can't do in a traditional newscast, and just have a conversation, not just an interview.
Okay, so one of the reasons why we wanted to speak with you here in this particular area is because we did have a shooting here back in June, and there have been shootings all over Richmond County. We know that you all have been working hard to make sure that you get to the bottom of it. One question that I have for you, that I had for our commissioners, is do we have a gang problem here? And I picked this location because of the shooting, but we've had it, of course, everywhere. We just had a very brazen incident at the Family Dollar, you know, not too far from here. Do we have a gang problem in Augusta, in Richmond County? Well,
absolutely we do, and it's a concern of ours. That's why we came into office. We created a gang task force to specifically identify and target gang activity. Now, you mentioned the shooting on Tobacco Road. Now, we have no indication to see that that's any kind of gang related, but our newly formed intelligence division, our gang division, is always compiling information to see exactly if stuff is attributed to a gang or particular gang. You know, over the last 4 years, we've identified over 100 gangs in Richmond, organized gangs in Richmond County, some more sophisticated than others. Any given time, 20 to 30 of those are actively engaged in criminal activity. And of course, you know, we're really trying to target the ones that have the propensity for violence and theft. So that is an ongoing issue that we're going to continue to combat. I don't think there's a large metropolitan city in the United States that doesn't have a gang issue. The problem, just like anything else, is managing that issue, and I think that we are doing everything we can to manage it and proactively go after. As you know, last year we did a 15-16 count indictment against a gang, a RICO case. Hasn't been done before. So
tell us more about that RICO case.
Yeah, we target one of our gangs that we consider to be extremely violent, which our LOE gang, which is Loyalty Over Everything. And we have been finding that they have been increasingly involved in not just criminal activity, but violent activity. So we went with our gang intelligence unit, along with the DA's office, did almost a 13, 14-month investigation to be able to indict about 17 different individuals on 56 counts under the RICO Act. So we're not just trying to cripple the gang, we're trying to annihilate it by trying to just dismantle it from the leadership down. Now, as we know, you know, with any gang, if you take off one person, there's going to be someone to fill that spot. But if you can kind of cripple it from a leadership standpoint, then it gives us a better understanding of how the gang is being built. So we're proud of that, but we have some more initiatives that we have in place. So, but we do want the public to know that we're not going to be shy about saying we have one, but we want to be just as aggressive saying that we're actively fighting it just as aggressively as people saying there's a gang activity in the area.
Can you tell us if there's a particular area in Richmond County where there's a heavier presence, deputies or members of your task force? No,
and that's one of the conversations. I met with the mayor a few weeks ago, and we were talking about some solutions, and we had brought up one of the programs that Savannah has called Shot Spotter, that can pinpoint gunfire and direct people. And it said, because Richmond County is so spread out, and we don't have a concentrated metropolitan city type area, that wouldn't work here. So it's no one particular area. So what we do, when we do our comp stats every 2 weeks, our zone commanders, is up to them to see if there's a trend in a particular neighborhood. Do we see an uptick in robberies in the area, thefts from autos, And then we use our crime suppression team along with our concentrated patrol in that zone to concentrate on those trends as we see them. But there's no one good or bad place in Richmond County. Now, there are some areas that receive more calls just because there's more concentration of people. So we're constantly evaluating that. So that may fluctuate in this area if nothing is going on particularly. Let's say if I have 4 deputies assigned in this area, but let's say it's an uptick in car thefts or burglaries. That may jump to 8 next week, but that's not a constant. But we react to it based on the data that comes in.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me in particular if there are any gangs in particular that you all are watching or that might be an issue here in Richmond County? Any particular ones?
Well, I don't want to specifically identify, like I identified the LOE because we have a standing indictment against it, but I don't want to again, validate the credibility of any gangs, but we like I said, we know we've identified over 100, and like I say, about 20 to 30 are actively engaged, and we have those identified and members of those organizations, and we have some operations that are currently in place, so I really don't want to jeopardize any of those ongoing investigations, but just want the people to know that we are actively targeting gang activity in this area.
Good. What can the community do? That's one of the questions that many people would like to know. What can the community do to help? And of course, you really feel powerless when you have someone getting shot down the street, when you have someone who is breaking into cars. I know all of those things are related to gang activity. Validate that, of course, but what can the public do? What can we do to help you? You're the community sheriff. You're the sheriff who trains up regular folk and gives them that badge of power and says, okay, we need your help in order for us to do this work. So truly, what can Miss Pamela down the street who's 84 and just wants to live a comfortable life, but she has car break-ins and shootings, and what can everyone in the community do in order to put this to a stop? Well,
get involved. I mean, our success is a direct correlation with our relationship with our community. What I would encourage people to do is, like I say, if there's an activity in your neighborhood, we call it what we call as tropical knowledge, where if you live in a neighborhood, you sense and can feel if your neighborhood is changing. When that deputy comes in, he comes in for those 12-hour shifts, that weekend shift, and he gets to know the community, but he doesn't have that tropical knowledge, that feel of a neighborhood. So we want the citizens, like I said, don't be afraid and don't be intimidated. And the other thing is, don't be swayed by, some people just want to complain about the bad. And there's so much good that goes on here. Our crime rate has constantly dropped in the last 5 years. But when people see, well, again, that's a combination of the public helping us. But then when you have a shooting or if you have a robbery, that is not the end of the world. We are a city over 200,000 people, and you can imagine. Look at some of the cities, Columbus and Atlanta and Savannah. Some of their crime activities that they're having. You mentioned the robbery of Family Dollar. That's one robbery in 4 days. I think some cities would kill to have that kind of coverage. But the point is, we're combating crime as it comes. We're reducing crime, but people need to stop concentrating on the negative and concentrating on the positive things that they're doing and say, hey, I see one of the greatest compliments that I get when I talk to people. And again, you can spout numbers all day long. It doesn't mean anything to certain people. But when a person comes up and say, I feel my neighborhood is safer, I feel a difference in my neighborhood, that's what we want to see. That's the kind of feedback. That's what validates what we're doing. So we tell people, don't concentrate so much on those people, those keyboard warriors who are just anything negative, that the sky is falling in Richmond County, and it's nowhere near that. With the amount of people that we have that come into Richmond County, not just citizens, but that swell to 350,000 on a daily basis, and that's going to even grow even more with the cyber and the growth of stuff downtown. So we're combating those every day, and we're making strides. So don't let the negative take away from all the positive things that we're doing. Like I said, our violent crime rate is down 35%. Our property rate crime rate is down 41%. But the biggest thing is that we want people to feel that their neighborhood is changing and feeling safer.
Okay. I'll just take a moment to address our Facebook followers. Nothing's going on here in Spanish Trace. We are doing a new initiative that the sheriff has started to go through the media and do Facebook Lives. And so if you have any questions, I see some coming in and we will get to those now. If you have any questions for the sheriff, he is making himself available right now. Don't ask any crazy questions, of course. Make sure that there are very good questions and that they are targeted. But make sure that, you know, if you have something for him to say, you do it now, because we have just a couple more minutes of his time. He's given us 30 minutes total to ask him anything we want. So come on, public, let's go. One of the questions is, do you have a substation in the Tobacco Road area? And I imagine that question comes because of the shootings that happen here. I'm seeing folks saying there are shootings, you know, every third and fourth day, so how can the crime be down? Do you have a substation here? And that question is probably coming because of the crime that's here.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we're doing is people don't understand that substation does not reduce crime. Is the deputies being within those particular areas. So what we do is we went to a zone concept where originally when we first started, when deputies came on shift, they mustered or came on the shift at only 2 locations. That was our Southgate precinct and Daniel Village, and we moved out to South Augusta and on our 56th precinct. So now what we do when deputies come on, they muster in whatever area that they're working. So where before you just had 2 musters, 2 concentrated where deputies congregated and started their shift in 2 parts of the city, now you have 12 to 13 different places when they come on. So those places fluctuate differently, and we tell our zone lieutenant to change those muster spots. So we don't have one particular space. So one day they might meet at the Circle K, one day they might meet at a bank, and one day they might meet at a neighborhood community park to start their muster. So what we do is try to get the deputies who work that area to start mustering and accumulating and in the area in which they work. So when they come on shift, they are automatically in the area that they work in instead of having to be dispatched from 2 centralized locations.
We have another question coming from Jenny Bouchard. She says, go to bat for your officers. Go to the commission and get money for problem-oriented policing unit. Find the money in your organization for more community policing to supplement your officers in the street. I want to add to that by asking about the budget. Mm-hmm. You asked for raises. Tell me the last time your officers have had a raise. Tell me your deputies have had a raise. Tell me what's up with that. You didn't get the money that you asked for, so what are you doing to make sure that their morale is high? And then answer Jenny's question about community policing and getting support for your officers on the street, getting them more money and getting them some help.
and that's something we constantly been fighting since I've been in office, and you have to look at it in perspective. We've been in office 6 years now. And just to tell you that we have dramatically increased the starting pay of our deputies. When we first started in 2013, the starting pay for a deputy was around $3,300 for a certified deputy. As we stand right now, not going to the next budget year, we're almost right at $39,000 for a starting rate for deputies. So that's a $6,000 increase in 6 years. And people don't see that. Now, we have been fighting with the commission for our deputies every year. But we understand that we are part of a bigger organization. It's just not just the sheriff's office. So we try to be frugal. We have ran a flat budget since I've been in office. We haven't had a budget increase. This budget cycle here, we decreased our overall budget by 4.7% in hopes that we can get the additional money for this 2-part raise that we asked for last year. So the commission did, in fact, give us a portion of 2/3 of the money that we asked for, and with the intent that hopefully going into the next budget cycle, we'll get the additional $600,000, which will bring us a little over $33,000 to $39,000 in 6 years for starting pay rate in Richmond County. Now again, is that what the deputies deserve? No, I wish I could pay them, 10 times that much, and we're going to keep fighting for that. But we are competitive. As far as, like I said, for our budget, again, we ran a flat budget. We've given back money. Last year we gave back over $900,000. We gave back over $1.3 million out of our budget every year. So we're frugal with our budget. We're trying to work within the commission and the government, because we know that the government has to function beyond law enforcement. But I truly believe that our commission wants to understand and wants to believe and fight for law enforcement. It's a balancing act, it's a juggling act. But going into 2019, hopefully the 2-year budget request that we've got will be able to be implemented based on. Now, as far as community policing programs, that is something that I ran my platform on. It's something that we've started, and we think that because our crime rate is steadily dropping, we think it's directly attributed to the community policing. But again, that's about getting the public involved, and people have to understand now. I've been on golf for 6 years.
Public involvement?
Public involvement in the fact that when people
calling more,
talking more, giving tips when stuff come out. You know, in some areas of this county, we have a culture you don't supposed to say anything. That's the culture that's being taught, and that's not community. I can't come in and just make your community safe if you're not willing to invest with it. You know, with us as law enforcement.
It's that word snitch, right?
that is a word in some communities.
Tell
that
them
is
not
a
to
bad
snitch,
word.
Sheriff. It's okay. Say it, don't snitch.
No, I'm not telling. I'm telling them to get involved and give us information. Like when I worked homicide.
Snitch, yeah.
When I worked homicide, and my success rate as a homicide investigator, 90% of it was attributed to people picking up the phone, calling and saying, with this information, we were able to do something with it. So that's what we want people to know, that if you call and give us this information, we're going to do something with it.
What is it that helps your deputies do their job when it comes to those tips? Sometimes people don't even know what to report.
Right, and that's one of the things that we tell our deputies.
What do you
anything
think?
that you feel is outside the norm. And like I said, let us filter out what is important and not important. Like I said, we have our intelligence division, and we tell them with our deputies, if they see something that may not be related to any crime that they have in the area, but that's for our intelligence unit. They want that information because there's a team of 6 intelligent analysts who are just compiling information, and they go through programs and they're trained to find those patterns and predictabilities of crime. So we're not telling the public, that's not your job. Your job is to give us the information no matter what it is, then let us sift through it. So don't think anything is trivial when people are like, well, I was going to say something, but I didn't think that was important. And sometimes that's the most important information that we could possibly get, the thing that you thought was insignificant.
Richard Boyd has a question. What about Deansbridge Road from Morgan Road to Fort Gordon, where that club is, at so many speeding and so many getting hurt and major wrecks? Have you seen that there's a speeding trap on Deansbridge Road from Morgan Road to Fort Gordon?
Speeding trap? That's where you get that word from? A speeding
I mean,
trap?
trap. He said there's a lot of people speeding, so it's not a trap if you don't know about it. If you do know about it.
And we get that a lot within Richmond County, but understand too now.
Is that a problem? That area?
I think speeding is a problem everywhere. If you ask the people in particular neighborhoods, we've gotten that complaint on Tobacco Road, we've gotten that complaint on Highway 56, we've gotten that complaint on Deansbridge Road, Gordon Highway. People make that complaint based on the area in which they travel the most. So what we do is we try to look at the areas in which we've had violent traffic accidents, fatal injuries, DUIs. So we use that data, and that's what we concentrate our areas for speeding enforcement, on areas in which we have seen major traffic fatalities or major traffic accidents that happen, or DUI. And because I mean, let's just be honest and we can't catch every speeder in Richmond County. We can't. And
you haven't caught me. No, I'm kidding.
And honestly, and if you want to be honest, let's just ask every person who's viewing and who go back and watch it. Ask if you ever sped. Have you ever sped and not gotten caught? And I think that's true of everybody. So we can't catch everybody.
You too?
Yes. But I have been caught. And I have been caught. I have gotten a ticket in my life, and it's life changing. But again, some of us are running late sometimes. Now, I'm not justifying it all. I'm just saying, when people make the complaints to say do something about the speeding, think about it. We can't catch every speeder in Richmond County. I don't think if you gave me 1,000 deputies, I could catch every speeder in Richmond County.
Okay, a lot of questions here, so I'm going to try to go through them fast. What can be done to increase deputy visibility at night and late in the evenings in the communities located on or around Tobacco Road, Windsor Spring Road, Travis Road, and Boykin Roads? Increase deputy visibility. Well,
one of the things that we're doing, like I say, based on the crimes in a particular area, that's what we concentrate our patrols on. Let's use this example here, of this area here. You mentioned about the one shooting. I went back and pulled the numbers when you actually, in the last 3 months, in the Spanish Trace area, there's only been 17 incidents in 3 months.
Only 17?
Only 17 in 3 months.
That sounds like a lot.
In 3 months, in 90 days, there have been 17 incidents.
You don't want one when you lay your head at night here. When I go to bed at night, I want to have the comfort in knowing that I'm not going to have one incident.
That one incident. Yeah. Okay, we got the movie off planet Earth. But again,
but for these people, I don't live in this area, but for these folks, I imagine that 17 in 90 days is, yeah.
But in perspective, I got to look at the perspective of the county.
Are there shootings?
Nope, just one aggravated assault, which is one you talked about. There's been 6 theft from autos. There's been 5 drug incidents, and
that doesn't
some criminal
indicate a
trespass.
problem?
No, not in 90 days in a city with over 200,000 people. No, it doesn't. We answered over 377,000 calls for service last year. 17 in 90 days. If I did that in every neighborhood, you would think we were in utopia.
And you don't think that these are the humble beginnings of, you know, a person who's doing organized crime or gangs when they start breaking into cars and assaulting people?
And that's what we see. That's what we look for, a pattern. That's why I say when I pull the numbers over 90 days, so let's say if I do it again in 3 months and that number is tripled, then yes, we can see that. That's why we do CompStats every 2 weeks to try to see, is there a pattern? And a lot of times what people need to understand is when we have a large increase of cars from vehicles, that is a crew or burglars. And I tell people when I do a presentation, a thief don't stop thieving until he's caught. He yeah. And so you made up your word, I made up mine. So they don't until they're caught. So if a person is breaking into houses and getting away with it, they're not gonna stop until they're caught. They don't retire. So we have to catch those individuals. So sometimes when there's an uptick, then we bring in more concentrated patrols because we got to catch that individual because they don't stop.
And do you rotate around to make sure that the community's not getting comfortable with, oh, there's a deputy, he'll be gone by 8:40 and then I can do my business?
Absolutely. That's where the tropical knowledge of neighborhood come in, and we encourage our deputies. Now, some deputies are more proactive than others. I mean, I got 750 people that work for me. But we encourage our deputies to get out, talk to individuals. Don't just respond when a call is taking place. Just like we're out here today, deputies come through and talk to individuals and talk to citizens when nothing's going on. And just say, hey, you know, how's things in the neighborhood? If you see a change, you see something different. Because like I said, if you live in that neighborhood, you have the tropical knowledge of my neighborhood is changing for the better or for the worse.
Okay, somebody's laughing at thieving. I want to get out of South Augusta so they don't think that we're harping on them. But, you know, over in West Augusta, people still want to know what happened with that Walton Way rape. What is it connected to anything? We got a recent report that it was self-inflicted. Can you tell us what was that, and where are you with making sure that the people in West Augusta are safe? Well,
that's an ongoing investigation, so I really can't get into details, but I can tell the public that we do not feel that there's any danger in that area as it related to that particular incident. So based on where we are in the investigation, you know, if we thought that the public, that there was a outcry to pass some information on to the public, we wouldn't hesitate to do that. We're not at that point, and we don't feel we'll be at that point. So from that particular incident, we don't feel that the public has to be concerned about any trends of anything of that nature.
I want to switch gears to Preston Overton because I want to keep his name in the public. There are a lot of missing people. Congratulations and good job with finding Jerry Eisenhower. But let's talk about Preston Overton. Where are we with his case? His family does not have a body. His children, therefore, cannot get the support that they need. You're out doing day-to-day crimes all the time, but it's hard, and I can imagine that it's hard to step back and look at missing persons cases and retrace steps when you have to respond to things day to day. Where are we with Preston Overton and the other missing persons?
It seems like we are the same place we were a year ago when we were talking about Janelle Caldwell case. I had the exact same question, exact same situation. So unfortunately, we've been in this situation before, and again we were able to bring closure in that case. So if anything, it gives comfort that we can bring resolution. In this particular case, we're continuing to follow leads. If leads come in, we've been all the way from Savannah to a place in Richmond County. We follow up tips when people call in and say check here, check there. We don't have any active leads at this point. Again, when you're talking the suspects in the case are not giving us any information, almost exactly like the Janelle Caldwell case. But we just hoping we catch that break, and when we catch that break, then we were going to respond to it. But, you know, I know sometimes for the families it's frustrating because they think that we've forgotten about it. It's not that we've forgotten about it. It's to the fact that we are still following leads as they come in. We just don't have the resources to devote to something when we don't have if we have a place to search or a place to look, absolutely we'll exhaust those. But we just can't randomly pick places to search. And I know it gets frustrating, and we understand that. And it gets frustrating for us. But like I say, the good thing is that we've been able to bring closure to so many cases. And unfortunately, I mean, and I'm doing these and being live to be real and transparent to the fact, understand, we can't solve all crime. That's an impossibility. I don't want everybody to think that we're just this magical agency that we're going to eradicate crime in Richmond County. Our job is to reduce it as best we can and make it as safe as possible. So we're not going to solve every case, but we sure don't solve a lot, great many of them. We have a great clearance rate. And so with that being in mind, people that gives them hope that we haven't forgotten and we don't ever give up on cases.
You just got a good job, Sheriff, too. What are you doing? I'm trying to pull the sheriff hat off a little bit and get more into your personal part, your heart. But
my handler said you got 4 minutes.
Have you called Preston Overton's mom? You know, how often do you talk to the family? How often do you just pick up the phone and say, "This is the sheriff, I'm just checking on you. You know, tell me as much as you can tell me so I can help you." And how often do you just step aside, don't let your investigators do it, but you actually be the one to say, "I'm here for you"?
Well, like I tell you, I worked homicide for 10 years, so I know how it feels with the family. So sometimes I do meet with family at their request, but also, as you say, take my sheriff hat off, and I really can't. Like so on my pay stub, it says vacation time 0, sick time 0. They say you're never not the sheriff. I'm an elected official. So once you get into a trend of calling people or visiting, you have to do it for everybody. You have to. It's fairness. And I just don't. We don't have the resources to the fact that I can do it for every person. Now, if a family just needs to talk to me and speak to me, then yeah, we'll arrange that. But as far as me just reaching out to every victim, every family, it'll be an impossibility, because once I started, I can't say that your loved one is less or more important than someone else's that happened. So if I missed that one call or I missed that visit because I'm somewhere else to stop, then that makes the person feel that they're not important. And I don't want to ever think that. I want everybody to think that every case is equally important to all of us. But we always make ourselves available if they just want to have that conversation.
And in terms of making yourself available, we did get a question on here. I can't remember who it was from, but they want to know, when it comes to making tips and calling in things that look suspicious, they'd like to see you be a little bit more accessible. Not you in particular, but the sheriff's office be a little bit more accessible. So what numbers do you call? How do you get in touch?
Yeah, I mean, you call our main number you can call, which is 821-1000. Our dispatch number you can call. You can email us. You can Facebook us. You can Instagram. That's what I'm saying right now, you know, especially with social media now. It's so many ways to get information to us. I told, even with me and people, and I tell with me, my phone doesn't ring in my office, so I have a secretary who answers my phone. But my email comes to my desk, and my email is a county email. Anybody can pick up the email and email information. So it's so many ways they can get into contact with us, and people just have to understand that. And one of the things we get, just piggyback on your question, you don't have to just give me the information. I don't have to be the one to solve your problem. Let our sheriff office solve your problem, because it's 750 of us, and we're here to solve your problem. So it shouldn't matter who solves it. So we're here in the problem-solving business. That's what we want our people to do. So it's hundreds of ways that we're accessible. Like I said, social media, Instagram, phone numbers, emails, anonymous calls, and like I say, you should be able to get us. If not, call dispatch, send a message, or stop a deputy in the street if you see him at the gas station or something and say, "Hey, I want to pass on this information." So, you know, that's just, I know that's a simplified way of saying it, but we're trying to be as accessible as we possibly can. We just need you to reach out.
While I have you here, what's the latest with the family dollar suspect?
Right now, and that was a particularly brutal crime, because, again, no violent crime should happen. But in this particular case, this individual had already had what little money he was going to get, and he just decided to be vicious and decided that was just evil. So, you know, we really, not saying we want to not solve any other cases, but that's one we really need to put down, and we need the public's help on that. We got a vehicle description, we got tips out, and somebody knows who that person is. And if they see that happen to their mother, their grandmother, that's senseless. He's already gotten the money for whatever reason you felt you had to rob a place, but then to shoot a person after you've committed the crime, that's just evil, and that person needs to be put away.
That's our 30 minutes, Sheriff. Any closing thoughts or?
No, I mean, interesting venue. Like I said, we're gonna be doing it with some other media outlets. We're doing 2 a month. So I hope that your other media people just to be as creative as you and interact the public in it. So again, we're trying to be accessible as we possibly can, and just know that we're working. We are, things are getting better in Richmond County, and that's the message we want people to know. They're not where we want them to be yet, but things are getting better in Richmond County.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Sheriff.
you.
And to all of you, thank you so much for chiming in. We couldn't answer every question, but what I will do is I'll go ahead now that the sheriff's folks are out here and put my name on the books for next month, because he said he's doing 2 a month. So we'll just go ahead and say that WJBF will do 1 a month. And I love it. I love this new idea. Great job, Sheriff. This is your opportunity to connect with the sheriff. And if you email me in advance, rdubose@wjbf.com, maybe that will help my pitch to get on the sheriff's books next month. Like there are no other media outlets here. But thank you so much for your questions. It seems like with working with the community, things are getting better, but we'll let you be the judge of that. But continue. I believe that he gave the phone number in this live recording to connect with the sheriff's office. He's on Twitter. Do you all answer the Twitter? You can send him a message on Twitter and just call the main line. Go down there. I'm sure that he even said if you see a deputy at the gas station, pull him over and say hey and tell them what you need to tell them. So I'm sure they'll connect you to the right place. So thank you so much. It's hot. I'm sweating. The sheriff is in the shaded area, but we appreciate your questions, and we hope that we were able to deliver the answers to some of those questions. Thank you, and we'll have a full report on WJBF News Channel 6 during the later shows at 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 and 11. Thank you so much.